Hey, Addie.
Hi.
Yay, the Addy show.
Mhm. Peanut butter ramen noodles.
That sounds really good.
Nice.
Yummy.
So I posted a new video today, some of you may have seen on Ramana Maharshi. And I was sharing with Indira that he was all about the silence. There was no teaching because he's saying you already are. You already are that. And what is that? But that which doesn't appear. So everything's an appearance. Seeing is an appearance. Hearing is an appearance. Thinking is an appearance. What is everything appearing to? What is aware of whatever is happening? If you're unhappy, what knows that? If you're elated, what knows that? If you're bored, what knows that? Depression would show up here, and I thought it had to do with me, you know? I thought that depression was my business. It wasn't my business. There's such a joy in allowing things to be as they are.
Just adding to that, Michael, bringing simple awareness to what was held is, profound liberation. Just like, oh, wow, that was what I was considering my responsibility. And just that process of consideration is, you know, lifting the burden. That's my experience.
That's beautiful. So for me, like today, there were some emotions that came up, um, a lot of deep emotions and sadness and other other emotions, and it was really uncomfortable. It was overwhelming. The emotions that were coming up were really, really uncomfortable. It's not fun. I'll be honest. Whenever there's like this overwhelming emotion that comes up, it's not fun, and yet it's embraced. And there was an allowance, holding a space, as if somebody was coming. It's as if someone is sharing their heart with me, and I'm holding a space for that person. The same thing here. What's holding that space? So there's like this vastness, or this whatever it is that has no name, was holding a space for these emotions to come up, and thoughts that were arising with it, or stories. And so it was felt and seen, and the body cried. It was fucking uncomfortable. But what was so beautiful about it was allowing the body to just feel, and allow the emotions to come up, and embracing that, and just sitting with it. For a long time there was a denial of emotions here. I thought that liberation would take away or somehow cloud whatever is happening here, but it's completely the opposite. And I don't even want to call it liberation anymore. It's not liberation, it's just being fully human. And yet what you're talking about, Michael, it's beautiful, because the silence is always here. It's just been not looked, it's been overlooked, and been skewed by identification with thoughts. So when thoughts arise now, what is seeing that? What's embracing that? There's no name, but it's seen and felt here. It feels experiential to me. So depression can come up, frustration can come up, and sometimes just last week frustration came up, and there was no story behind it. It was just an emotion. All that attention, it felt a bit disorienting, because the body is not used to putting so much attention on the emotion. It's used to like doing things to avoid. But I just sat with it, and before I knew it, it was just gone. And so today the same thing happened, where a lot of emotions came up, sadness came up, and it was seen and felt for a while. And then I took a shower and washed my hair. I started cooking. So it's it's not negating the human emotions that arise. It's actually embracing it. And everything is okay. I didn't die from this.
But who I've always gotten caught on this one. Who is it that is embracing? Who is it that is embracing it? Who is it that is embracing the depression? Because there's nobody. There's if I embrace my depression the way I do it, there's a me. There's a me says there's a me that says sort of I don't want the depression, so I'll practice the technique of embracing the depression, which is fine and it's is valuable. But I'm wondering if there's no me, then the depression doesn't need to be embraced, because the depression just is. It's just depression. And then that, yeah.
So there's movement to it. That's the best way to describe it. There's movement to feeling it. So hard to put into words. It really is. But I hear what you're saying. For me, it's just a movement to just sit. It's not like me sitting with it. It's just a movement, an automatic movement, either moving towards it or not moving towards it.
What,
Well,
what does that? The moving
I don't,
towards it or not? I'm with you. I just, what is
yeah.
that? Is that under choice or anything, or that also just happens?
So when you go to the bathroom
Back
and
to
you,
that.
and you, you use, you do number two and number one, what's, is there a me doing that?
Oh,
Yeah.
good point.
I love you, Don.
Hmm.
Yeah, Jackie, so do you want to tell us about your vivid imagination that you just wrote about in the chat?
I was just imagining Dawn on his throne.
Aw. Ah, you're her king, Don.
You're sharing it with us.
Yeah,
Dawn's being attacked by all of us.
you're all kings and queens. Everybody's a king and queen because everybody's this. Like, what is imagining at night? Like, think of the power. Look how many things seem to be happening every moment, all by themselves. It's already happening. By the time you think of what's happening and then come up with a plan, it's already moved on. Thoughts are an appearance, and that's completely a different way of being with thoughts than thinking they're you. So you know of your couch. So you can't be the couch because you're what's aware of the couch. Well, are you aware of your body? What you call the body, the sensations. There's no body actually there. If you feel into it, you feel into your own body right now, there's no body there. There's just a handful of sensations. It's just noticing this more and more. Just noticing. You can just practice right now. You could practice. Oh, I'm aware of the computer monitor. So I know I'm not the computer monitor. You can just be with it. If you have a pain right now in your body, anybody uncomfortable right now, have any pains, we can be with it. Yeah, Jackie. Do you want to tell? See, one of the things that Leela, Indira, and I were all talking about was being with the feeling rather than thinking about it, rather than going to story, which is kind of the habit. So when you feel into your pain in your body, Jackie, what comes up for you?
I've noticed that when I think about it, it hurts. It's my tooth. I've had a filling and it's sore. And I've been really practicing this, and I keep reiterating and saying, what's notice, what is it I say? What is experiencing the sensation? I try and not call it pain. I call it a sensation, like what's experienced, what's aware of the sensation, what's aware of the sensation. And I have noticed that when I keep repeating it, it subsides completely.
It's
So
beautiful.
that's my medicine for the pain.
That is beautiful medicine.
Mm.
That is just really beautiful medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So, Michael, there are a few things. Is it okay if I share?
Please.
So I've been very diligent in listening to your videos in the past several months. And in December, I live in Langley in Vancouver, and I stayed at my daughter's house in Burnaby Mountain. There are bears, and she had gone to Australia. And at that time, I listened to one of your videos on silence. And I was taking care of Molly, her dog, and Molly woke me up at like 2:15 in the morning. And prior to that, few hours before that, there was a windstorm and all these trees just fell off. And when I took Molly out at 2:15 in the morning, it was just complete silence. And we were walking, and I could hear the rustling of the leaves as I was walking in them. And I think the wind was howling a bit. And it was like a part of me was like silence. There's all there is silence. It was like two people in my head. One is hearing the rustle of the leaves as I'm walking in them and the wind, and the other is like just calm and silence. And then a few weeks later, I mean, I'm just trying to remember this. When there were the fires in LA, I I had the computer on, and I was listening to one of your videos, and on the other side I was watching the fires in LA. And prior to listening to your share, it was like there was sadness and fear coming up. But then as I was listening, it was like the fire just seemed magical. It was just like, I don't have the right words, but it was like, it was just happening. It was just happening. It was just happening. Just like, wow. And more recently, with everything happening with Trump and Elon, I'm just telling myself, like, what is witness to this? What is witnessing this? And when I say that, and I just remind myself, because if I don't remind myself of who I am, then I go into fear and sadness and anger. I feel like I'm rambling on. So just, I have to consistently remind myself of who I truly am. So I go for dancing. I do a lot of dancing. So I keep reminding myself as I'm driving is happening, dancing is happening, singing is happening. Silence, the silence, even when there's dancing or singing or fighting.
Jackie, that's beautiful. Can I ask you something, Jackie? Right now, this is beautiful, and I'm just holding a space for you right now, just right now. Like, I just want to go with you with that emotion right now. Like, where do you feel the emotion right now? Because this is it right here. This is the juice right here. All those tears is the juice. Where do you feel the emotion in your body, sweetie? Okay, so can you just be with that and I can be with that with you? In your body, just stay with that. How does it feel in your body?
Um,
What was that?
I said calm, I feel calm.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. That's it. Right here, right now. It just wants to be seen. And those tears just wants to be just seen by what I don't know, but you can feel that, right? Yeah. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Michael, I wrote this down, as you said this a short while ago. Thoughts are just an appearance. I'm going to remind myself every time I watch these videos about whatever's happening, wherever it's happening, that it's just an appearance and it's moving on. It's just an appearance and it's not permanent. It's just moving on. Thank you for that reminder.
It's beautiful.
I also love the reminder of there's no body, just a handful of sensations.
Yeah, well, what's beautiful about what we're talking about, this inquiry, is it's available to you anytime, 24/7, 3 in the morning. I can't sleep. You can be with that feeling of not being able to sleep. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. So where one's, it was like conditioned to go to the thoughts, there can be what I call a good addiction, where you start to become more aware of the emptiness or the space or whatever you want to call it. I'm not hung up on names. I really don't mind what you call it. Amor calls it a shit show. So it's the name isn't the important thing. The noticing it more and more will pay dividends. And I'm sorry if that sounds like a doing, but that's my experience. There is a deepening. You do get more comfortable. It becomes more second nature to come to this silence and commune rather than habitually believe the story and go for a ride.
Michael, I wanted to just add that the story can be brief. I found myself today getting frustrated and then just kind of pausing for a moment and asking, who's frustrated? Where's that? Where does that live? So inspecting, pausing, bringing awareness back to what is, and I was able to let it go. Whereas I think in weeks past, um, I might have said, no, I need to take a stand on this. My computer's not doing what it's supposed to do, or my coworker isn't responding to my inquiry and just whatever. So I just wanted to add to that last point that the story can be a brief story, but be just as much of a hook.
Yeah, whatever works in the moment for you. So you can ask, whose pain is it? And then get quiet, see if there's a response. Another way to do it is you don't even need to ask whose it is. You can just do what we're doing right here at the meeting and just be with it.
Mhm.
Because here it was seeing the whose it was didn't matter. If you're upset, there's upset. What do I care whose it is? Right now, upset is showing up.
Mm. It can feel a bit disorienting. That's what it was for me. It felt a bit disorienting for a while there. And because there was just so much, key word here for me was attention, was so much on the story and just believing the story and no attention on here. Um, and now it's like there's more of like a movement to whenever the emotions come to just sit with it. And it doesn't feel, sometimes it feels overwhelming and sometimes it just feels uncomfortable, but that's it. And then it passes. And then it's like, and then it's forgotten. It's the most natural thing that this body can do. It was just ignored for a seeming long time through thought and identification with thought or resistance to go to the body.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Indira. You know, if you think about it, most of us were never taught just to be present with our emotions.
My mom used to tell a story of her childhood around, you go to your room and don't come out until you have a smile on your face. And that was part of her healing journey, is to just be present with ourselves, to not feel that there was this pressure to be a certain way. Just reminded me of that reference.
Yeah, for me too. Growing up, that was taught to not feel, don't talk, don't feel. And whenever I can, there's memories of being a child and crying. And then this insight is like the reason why there was so much crying was because I just wanted to be heard and seen. That was, it couldn't have been, how beautiful is that? Like there's nothing to forgive with the childhood of Indira because there's just nothing to forgive. It was all she knew. That was her way of love. So there was always love with her, even when there was screaming and yelling as a child. Basically, behind all of that was all she knew. She was just wanting to be heard and seen. So as an adult, it carried on to myself as an adult to not feel or to numb out or to, and what that created was, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, I guess, but for me, I just had it. I guess I just had enough of that. And so there's more of an impulse and movement to just move through the body and feel. But that was beautiful, Dominic, because the same thing here. Yeah.
And Dara, you mentioned earlier holding space. I find that really profound. I work, you know, part-time counseling, and some of the times I'm so amazed at the impact of just listening, of just holding sacred space, really connecting and being present. That can be it. Shifts happen in that space. So I just wanted to call out that sometimes less is more, simpler is better. Not trying to fix a problem, but just being what we're describing, being with it, being with someone who's having an experience is quite profound often.
That was beautiful. Yes. So much simpler than what the mind wants to make it out to be. That was great. Thank you. Yeah.
And then, Michael, I wanted to circle back on the Ramana Maharshi. As you were talking, I was reflecting on his what had been related to me as a common experience, devotees going to him for guidance. And he would often say, well, what is your current practice? And they would say, oh, I do these mantras or I do this or that. And he would say, great, yeah, continue doing that. And
Mhm.
it just reflected on like there is no magic potion, secret handshake, or, none of this business. It is just the silence, the being present.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I didn't want to take us off track, but again, just open sharing as things kind of flutter through here.
Yeah, as Leela sometimes says, the journey is the goal.
Yeah.
I love that. The journey is the goal because we're so conditioned to think the goal is at the end. It's not what I'm doing now to get somewhere. No, this is it.
Isn't it interesting that even when people are relaxing, they're usually chasing a goal, like video games or like art or
Yeah, it's funny when you take a step back and you start to notice that each individual creature has its own way of dealing with life. Like, just try and get your head around how many creatures there are on this planet. Uncountable, right? In each little creature, big and small, elephant or a mouse, human, chimpanzee, doesn't matter. Every one of them has an interest. For the spider, it might be spinning his web. For the bear, it might be protecting her cubs. And so suddenly, when you take a step back, you see the beauty of that. Everything having an interest in something, all on its own. And nobody's doing it. It's just happening.
Like you were saying, Addie, chasing the video game. So it's like they're just like believing that they're chasing something when they're not. They're right there just playing.
That's good.
Yeah.
The other hook is the next moment is better than this moment. So I can't wait till this moment is over because that future thing is going to be much more entertaining, engaging, satisfying. So again, conditioning, like we're just not conditioned to be here or encouraged much to just be here with what is.
I mean, it's kind of crazy how normal that is. Like how much when people are complaining about work, they're like, "Oh, I just want it to be over."
Right.
Okay. All
I want
right.
it to be
Like
over so I can rush home and do the next thing that I hope will get over soon, and then I could go on to the next thing. Like
then I
it's
sleep.
a never-ending desire for that future something.
I hear it all the time at work, Addie, all the time. Can't wait to get home. Can't wait to do this. Guess what's going to happen next week? It's like, okay. They're
So there's
already
a
in the
little
future.
flick them on the nose. Like
Yeah,
I
totally.
sometimes do like I'll head pat them. I'll be like, "Hi."
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
it's even in the language because first they came out with, TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. I made it to Friday, and then that became too long to wait. So then they came up with Hump Day. Oh, it's Wednesday. I'm halfway. And so you can you can start to notice that always pulls you out of this moment. So all my happiness is in a future moment that never comes.
Unless you have sex.
Hey, I gotta be honest. It is possible to have sex with someone and your head could be elsewhere. Just saying.
Wow, both moments. Really present in the moment in sex and somewhere else. I love that.
there's a great Seinfeld episode where George is trying to enhance his sex life, and so he's got a girlfriend that's open to experimenting, and he tries to listen to the baseball game while they're having sex, and she's okay with that. And then he's like, "Wow, where can I take this?" And he tries to have a ham sandwich and listen to the radio and have sex. He's like, raising the ante. And finally, she's had enough, and she said, "This is over." Silly. So this captures this idea of like, this isn't it. It's over there. I got to do something more. I got to
Oh my
enhance
God.
somehow.
Oh,
It really is funny, isn't it?
yes.
And terribly sad. You think of all these, incredible moments that people just buzz past because they're, under this hypnotized, you know, trance state. being drawn to something else.
Yeah. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I do notice quite a few people at concerts these days recording a concert that's already being recorded by professional equipment.
Yeah.
So here, if I go to a concert, the phone doesn't need to come out. I just want to hear it and listen to it.
I might take a few pictures or videos, but like, yeah, like I just kind of, it's a lot sometimes how much people film it. And usually we don't even really look back at the videos. We just sort of let them sit in our phone.
Well, not only that, but if you look around and you see, 10,000 other people filming it, odds are pretty good it's going to make its way to YouTube and you'll be able to see it,
Yeah.
you know?
What's special is that you're filming it and it's in your hand.
Right. Right. I was there. Yeah. Oh, good point, Addie. I have to post it to Facebook so people can see I went to the concert. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's almost even like next level. Like maybe I wasn't there unless I document it. If we don't take selfies at the bar, did we actually have a good time or not? It sounds crazy, but I think there's a little bit of that as well.
I'm when I'm looking at sadness and what Indira was saying about being with it, I'm noticing that my son is like breaking up with a girlfriend. Okay. And he's like really, really sad, heavy, heavy sad. And I, of course, am sad because he's sad. And before it was like, oh, it was, well, how do we get out of this? How do I get him out of his sadness? How do I, all these techniques I know and all this stuff, or how do I get out of the sadness, that whole thing. And as I'm listening to all of you, it's like, so he's outside right now, he's sad, and I'm sad, but it's like, without messing with the sadness, it's like, it's sort of beautiful.
Mm.
He's sad. I'm sad because he's sad. And there's something about that that's just like, it's like a beautiful dance. There's like nothing, it's beautiful. I mean, it doesn't have to get not sad. It's okay, the sadness. It's beautiful. It's like a full expression of the silence. It's just a full expression coming out as sadness for somebody that you love who is sad.
Mm.
And it's like, oh, it's beautiful. I mean, it feels that way. It's beautiful. It goes to the heart.
Mm.
These are amazing little things. These little get-togethers we do. Just amazing what happens.
It's beautiful, Don.
That's the cost of having something beautiful is sadness.
Mm-hmm.
It's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
If you aren't sad with it gone, did you really love it at all?
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm. I don't know. For me, it just feels so good now to just like when that the dog Bocce, when he had something around, he had an infection on his arm, and I remember me and the owner took him to the vet, and I wanted to go in there because the blood was sapping out of his arm, and I was I was feeling what he was feeling. I guess I don't know. There was just sadness that came, and it was okay. It's being human, and it just feels beautiful to just, all the tears just came out. Wasn't worried about what he thought or what they thought or anything. It was just free to be. And then before I knew it, he came back wagging his tail, and
Mm.
it was done.
That's love, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, really beautiful. And it also translates. I think when we are holding a position of openness, of acceptance, I feel what you feel and I'm okay in this moment. I think that translates. It communicates that, hey, somehow
Yeah.
this, I can be okay with this too. I can feel confident that we're going to make it through. You don't have to say those words. It's just that,
Mhm.
again, coming back to this idea of presence, deep presence, empathic presence is really powerful.
Mhm.
That's the reason why people say it's okay, I think. It's okay.
Mhm.
So is it okay to be human? I mean, that's the
Yeah.
question I always have for me. Is it okay to be human? I mean, I'm getting that from this group. Like, it's okay to be human. I'm going, whoa, really? Like, really? I mean, I'll try it on, but it's a hard one.
Yeah, it's not only okay, it's beautiful. It's, we're a witness to being present is real validation for just showing up. It's a big part of that.
Once you begin to develop the habit of going to presence rather than thought, the habit of being with your emotions,
Mm.
however they are, it does get easier. It's like when a dog is scared because you've never been loving toward it, get away, bad dog. I don't want you around me. Well, that doesn't feel so good.
Mm. I think that happens with people's kids as they treat them in that way and then they grow angry towards them. And then it all becomes super subconscious and no one really knows that that's why. It's that they just feel unloved
Mm.
and pushed away. And there's just this anger between them and they go to therapy and to, yeah.
It really goes back to what we were saying before, promoting the opposing condition of this isn't okay. Nothing's okay. I should be better. The situation should be better. I should be having more fun right now. I shouldn't be sad. All that judgment filters in from that type of, you know, lack of acceptance or conditioning in that way versus like, this just is. This is what it is. Let's be here together. Let's be present. It's okay.
I mean, that's kind of scary too, because it sort of destroys reality, you know? Kills the
Yeah,
story, you know?
yeah, I've personally been sort of challenged by that exact same thing lately. Just got back from a week's long business trip, and I couldn't wait to get back to LA, my home base, and just be authentic and hang out with real friends. And I was like, wow, why was that so difficult? And I think I've just become more sensitive right now at this moment to people who are doing their trip and acting out their story and being obsessed with their story. So it's just what I'm working on and where I'm at in the process.
Yeah. Or like a lot of subconscious repressed emotions that are kind of always coming out.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's
makes
hard to
sense.
not take them personally, you know? He's like, yeah.
So it can be noticed that everything we're talking about, whatever the feeling, good or bad, positive or negative, pleasant or not pleasant, What can be overlooked is something had to notice. Something had to notice the sensation, the feeling, the thought, the agitation, the joy, whatever it is. If you're not aware of it, it doesn't exist.
That's very profound, Michael, for me. I've heard it before, and thank you for saying it again. Just like, wow.
So can you put what you heard into your own words? Because that's another I would encourage is putting something that you hear that you like into your own words. How would you say it?
It's a big reminder for me, or that there's something greater than me. It's just not me and my thoughts and the story that goes with the thought. But I also, what I'm getting more and more is it's not permanent. It happens and it, because I've done this exercise for myself also, and I've taught my clients, like you have a thought and just imagine putting the thought on a cloud and the cloud just vanishes, goes away. Another thought, and then you're just witnessing it. Or being on a train station and just watching the trains go by, right? It stops for a moment and off it goes. It stops for a moment. And if I was in the train, I wouldn't be noticing the train. But because I'm on the platform, I'm noticing the train as a thought, and off it goes. And it's not permanent. It stays there for a while at the station, off it goes.
So what notices the train?
What helps my mind understand that is it's not me. There's a greater power than me, or God, or it's also telling me that I don't have a choice in making it happen because whatever has to happen will happen, which I don't really like. I like knowing that I'm in charge.
So here, and I'd like to hear from some of you as well. Thinking I was in control was not a fun prospect. The idea of doership here was completely entrenched in suffering. And I began to notice that everything just seemed to be happening all by itself. And everything happening by itself doesn't sound very satisfying to the me. It's not a very good answer. But it's not meant to be. It's not meant to give the me something to chew on because it will just come up with something else. You ever notice you ask a question that doesn't end question asking? So the answer is there is no answer. And that's my final answer. Now, there can be a great joy knowing that you'll never know what you are and you don't need to know.
Yeah, that need to know person feels like the same one who's trying to get somewhere. If I know this, then I can build on that and I'll accomplish this. I'll get to this point. So it's part of, for me, that ongoing script of, you know, knowing more and getting somewhere. That's part of the illusion, maybe.
I've heard the notion that I'm God and I decided to come and have fun in Jackie's body. And then I think most of it has been fucking shit. Couldn't you have found a better game, an easier game? Why choose a game where there's so much hurt and pain and holy shit, man, like holy shit.
So, Jackie, you mentioned earlier in the message that you have a vivid imagination. Yeah? So, right now, what is actually going on in this moment? What's actually going on?
Right now, as you asked the question, what came to mind is I'm a fairy with a magic wand.
You're a fairy with a magic wand. That's what's going on right now. You're a fairy with a magic wand. See, it's so simple when we stay with exactly what's happening. Because all those worries and traumas are in a past that's not really happening at this moment, is it?
Yeah. Thank you,
So,
Michael.
so does it was a good point. Does worry does happen in the moment because there's no other place for it to occur in. So worrying is as good as liberation or whatever
Well,
else you'd want in the moment, because if it's in the moment, that's what's
exactly.
happening. And that's
No,
oh
there's
yeah,
just, Don, there's just what's happening.
right,
So if suffering is what's happening, that is what's happening in the moment.
right.
So we're just with that suffering. That's it. It's that simple. Whatever's arising in a way is
Right.
just saying, will you be with me?
And who's it asking? Will you be with me? I get that. Who's it asking?
Who's asking the question?
Well, when the worry says just be with me,
Yeah,
that so the worry is referring to somebody to something to be
yeah,
with it. And I'm
yeah,
wondering what that worry is asking for to be with it.
yeah. And I'm asking who's asking that question.
Okay. Well, I am asking that question.
That's the same one that's doing the worrying. No one. The one that there's no one there in the body asking the question. There's just the asking of the question right now.
Okay.
It's actually just a thought arising. There's just been so much addiction to thought here that,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So it's like,
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
I'm like a worried thought. My brother is schizophrenic. I'm worried about him. What should I do? These are all thoughts arising. So sometimes there's an inquiry to ask, to look at that. It's just thoughts coming up. And sometimes I'll ask myself, well, what is it that I believe in this moment? Well, he's going to die. Okay, so then I look at he's going to die. And then I look at he's not going to die. And then I inquire and say, well, what's in between that? Uh, and really feel in that. And then there may be another thought or another dialogue. Okay, well, what's behind that dialogue? Keep going, keep going, keep going. And then experientially, what I see between that he's going to die and he's not going to die, experientially, it's like, I don't know. What's in between that? Nothing. And I
Yeah,
sit,
because there's never an answer. There's never an answer to the inquiry.
yeah, it's just, it's nothing. So when I
Yeah.
can sit with that nothingness, because I'm being, there's triggering happening here, emotions arising. Well, when I can sit with those two thoughts that
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
being believed in, and I'm looking in between, when I see that empty, there's nothing. It's like, okay, it's meaningless. It's just thoughts arising, distraction, that's it. And when I can sit experientially with that emptiness, it's like, oh, and then all of a sudden there's a relief because nothing's happening. He's still alive.
Yeah. So Indira, do you have, I love the way you talk about this and your point of view. What major thing did you study in the realm of psychology or this kind of stuff before this? Because I'm fascinated by how you speak it.
So there was, I'm not sure what the question is, but there was a lot of, uh, for me, I wanted to know who I was. I wanted to know who I am. There was just like I can identify with Jackie, like, why is there so much suffering here? This sucks, and so I started with Eckhart Tolle, and then I went to the 12-step group. I did a lot of shadow work, which was helpful for the body. And then as time went on, and then I got attracted to non-dual. There was something in the speakers that resonated. I would listen to Tony Parsons, and there was like, I want that. There's something there, and there would be jealousy and frustration. And then I'd listen to Lisa Carnes, and it's like there would be jealousy, and I want that. I want that. And fast forward to what seemingly happened was a friend of mine said, go to LU, which is Liberation Unleashed, and get all your questions asked there and then come back to me. And what that was is a website that I had joined, and for like 2 months I got a guide, and there were inquiry questions that I never thought to feel into, not think, but to feel into it. It blew me away. And what I started to notice every time a question was asked, thoughts would start to come up. And then there was a noticing of thoughts. Oh, wow, that's a thought. It was just so obvious. And then just feeling into it. Who's responsible? Then I start typing, well, I'm responsible. I'm responsible for my bills. And all of a sudden, it was so clear that it was just thought. And then all of a sudden there was noticing that there was just typing. And then all the sensations came to the body. And then all of a sudden there was noticing of the breathing, just noticing of all the sensations. And it was just in that moment, it was like, wow. And then all of a sudden driving to work, there was just noticing of thoughts. But then what was noticing that? It was like the glasses went over here, and all of a sudden, what was noticing that? And I can't say it's awareness. It was just very quiet. It 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 it, it wasn't attached to taking anything personally. It was neutral. It was ordinary. It felt soft. And it was just an automatic intuitional pull to just put that attention on that. And so as seeming time went on, there was just noticing of the body going to the bathroom, getting up in the morning. There was no thought to use the bathroom, to pee, to do number two, and then getting up and eating. And then there would be thoughts arising, and then noticing that it's okay for the thoughts to arise. See, I believed that in order to be liberated, that there would be a way of extricating the thoughts. But no, it's a part of all of this. And then there's this feeling of this vastness that all of you are, but you can't see it. You can't, it's unknowable. It's very experiential, and it's simple. And then I was like, wow, I can see why I was unable to see this. And then all of a sudden all these emotions came through, and then the expectations that I was identified with, that if I find liberation, then I don't have to deal with these emotions, and I don't have to deal with whatever, issues that needs to be dealt with finances and just situations of the world. And that's not true. I can still be in this world and not believe. I can still be and have fun in this world and see the illusion at the same time. I can still be in this world and get fucking angry and explosive and reactive and see that and be okay with it. And then it's gone. And then all of a sudden, I started noticing going to work. It was like, I'm on the plane. Like, how did I get here? Because it was just it just was an I it was just an automatic noticing that, wow, I maybe because there's no longer attachment to how the body got in the car and then went on the plane. Do you know what I mean, Michael? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love the way you're sharing. I love the way everybody tonight has been sharing. It's a real rare. Yeah, Addie says it sucks. It can suck.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it sucking. Sucking is
Yeah.
it too. Everything is it.
That's the bumper sticker for tonight. Sucking is it too.
Yes.
Any
Yes.
last comments or questions before we close out this evening?
That was a beautiful share, Dira. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Indira.
Love you all.
I loved what you said about you can still have fun and know it's an illusion, or you can be angry or whatever, and still, know that it's an illusion. Thank you for that.
Mm.
You are God being angry.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great
Love you
night,
all.
everybody. Thanks for
Bye.
coming.
Thanks, so. Yeah. Bye.